Hello, everyone.
Yeah. Hi, Dominic. So,
Hi, there, everyone else.
hi. So, yeah, we can start with the session. So, anybody's having any queries, either related to GSOC, related to our project, related to our organization, or related to their career or resumes and referrals, if any questions around that, feel free to ask us. Mm.
And no questions? Do you have any questions regarding the GSOC period, which starts tomorrow? Well, in a few hours, actually. Any projects that you're particularly interested in? Yes, Joy.
Hello, sir. I want to ask how can we get a review on like a particular portion of our proposal? Like I sent on Slack, but I did not get any response.
So, um, the mentors are sometimes busy and they may like overlook certain the Slack channels. It's not their
Okay.
fault. So you can send an email directly, mentors@palisados.org. That
All right.
someone will definitely see it then.
Okay. And like submissions are starting tomorrow. So until we get a review and make the updates in our proposal, so can we wait to submit?
Yeah, no, you'll definitely get a review the moment you ask for. Well, not the moment, but the moment you submit a review, I can
Yeah.
guarantee that someone will see it and give you feedback in a timely manner before the application period closes. So,
All right, sir.
yeah.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Any like questions regarding the format of the submissions? What do you mean by first come first serve, Bandhan?
I can take this, Dominic. So I think he's indicating if for a project multiple folks are submitting, so would we consider the folks who submit first? So, but then it's not like that. Basically, we consider the solutions, the implementation, whosoever is closest to the implementation and whose implementation is more streamlined and who is more active with the uh, that proposal reviews, we definitely take these pointers into considerations. But before making final decision, we do take other factors like the contributor contributions to or any to open source or the PRs, the quality. So these things come into picture as well. I hope that answers your question. So there is one question from Mandeep for the format of the proposal. So, Mandeep, there is no specific format as such for any organization, I believe, or same for our organization. But basically, whenever you are submitting a proposal, make the proposal more crisp. Don't make it more literature side. Make it more the technical side. We want to see the technical details of your approach. If there is any architecture diagram for any project, if you can include that, that would be really useful. You and apart from that, whatever open source contributions you have done so far, you should be mentioning that too. And yeah, a very short intro of yourself. what you have done, what you are studying, and all, and stick more to the project than to other long paragraphs. That would be useful. Apart from that, there is no such format. I hope that helps.
So, so in the past we've not really had a hard and fast format. So like as Tasneem had said, this is largely true. However, I would suggest using Blender's application template, which is also used by the Graphite organization, which is another GSOC organization. So this type of format is more or less the type of things we look for in an applicant's proposal. So past work you've done on the project, such as PRs, things such as that, the title of the project, and your name, how you plan to improve the specific project you want to work on, and what deliverables you'll have on more details, and the schedule. So these type of things, I think more or less this captures what we would want to see in a project proposal itself. Yes, Manish.
Yeah, I have a very specific questions regarding a project. The email one in Talawa areas, there is an email project. So a email notification project, and there is a channel called email notification channel. We have to build up the system. But I think building up on SMPT server is a very much headache for us for future things, and as well as building up the thing. So can you use some paid service like Amazon SNS or SES that cost around $2 for 100K emails?
So you raise an interesting point there, because in truth, generally SMTP servers, like spinning them up, have a lot of issues in terms of like configuration and just maintainability. But at the same time, we're a free and open source software foundation, so we find closed source or software that requires us to pay upfront, or anyone to pay upfront, prohibitive, and we don't want to opt for that. But at this also, it's not necessarily true that SMTP servers are always like difficult to spin up. So, for example, there's a build tool called Nix, which allows you to kind of spin up these type of things in a reproducible manner, and it wouldn't be, say, out of the realm of possibility to add that to our Talawa project itself. So coming up with creative solutions like that, which would be maintainable and usable in the long run, are type of things we look for.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Look into this.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Yes, I want to ask Doug from the plugin architecture project. So in that particular one, like we have many possibilities, like heavy plugins, AI ML model. We can integrate different things, which can be really heavy on code, and like the basic architecture will remain same. So, should we dive deep into the like heavy things in our proposal, or just keep the basic things and mention how we are going to implement if there is something heavy plugin or some type of thing?
Yeah, good call. So yeah, so for the plugin architecture, basically through this project, what we are aiming at is we want to get a streamlined architecture. Let's say, just now you mentioned like if there would be some heavy plugin, how would we handle that? That would be a good thing to mention in your proposal. But apart from that, focus more on the architecture. How is it going to be more streamlined? In future, if we have multiple plugins, how are we going to handle that? Okay. So, and one more thing, one more question that you can focus on is like, let's say there is a plugin. So would that plugin be in a separate space, or if that plugin, if it's a UI comp, would it be in the Talava space, and from the store we will just be looking at the list of plugins and installing, uninstalling it. So these things you can focus on your proposal. So yeah, and for the heavy plugins, definitely if there is a scenario which you can discuss in detail, I would recommend you to go ahead and mention in a proposal. One more question, Jay. Have you submitted any proposal for plugin?
I have submitted for enhanced testing, like on the Slack, but for plugin, I'll take a review by tomorrow, maybe. Like I'll send in the mail tomorrow because like there are something I have to modify, like the particular point about heavy plugins. Like I've already mentioned how going to scale heavy plugins, like creating different containers or something like that for them for models. But like I haven't went to the depth, like including snippets and including the exact architecture. For basic, I have done everything, like architecture, the dummy snippets, and like the repositories structures. But for heavy architecture, I'll add today.
Okay. So one more thing, I would recommend you to come up with your draft proposal because I am the one who is mentoring that, and I've been gi actively giving my reviews on draft proposal for other interested candidates and would be really useful to you as well. And coming to your question, so our whole agenda is if in future if there is a new plugin which is going to get added, it should be a smooth process. Okay, and coming to that heavy plugin question, so if it's a very, I mean, wider use case, so it is recommended to add as a functionality to the code base, not as a plugin. Okay, but if there is a special case which we can have a discussion on your proposal, that would be really interesting.
All right, I'll share soon.
So thanks. Yeah, go ahead, Vanishka.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Vanshika, and I have actually sent you one draft yesterday. Tasmin ma'am, can you please review that once because I've mentioned every possible scenario in that draft, which I thought of adding. So that would be really helpful if you can just go through that.
Yeah, sure, Vanshika. I'll check that. One quick question. Is it related to plugin project or the enhanced testing?
Actually, right now it is related to plugin, and soon I'll be sharing you the testing one also. I'm
Okay.
working on that one.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
By the way, guys, have you been sending drafts to this email? Draft submissions at palisados.org? Yes, Manish.
So about that again, that notification one, we really need some type of message broker for that project. But sometimes, like if we will go for using Apache Kafka, like it's a open source platform, but like using this in our VMs maybe some overheadache for us. Like sometimes it will cross that API amount of resources it will take. It will be more than Talava API itself. So what will be the perfect amount of users we will target to building up this system? Like 100K users or 50K users. Like what will be the target users like that amount? So
So
we will.
I don't think so. Questions like that aren't really within the scope of this project per se, because we're not a commercial enterprise dedicated to 100K users or a million or whatnot. What essentially you're asking is a system design question, and we're more interested in just to have an implementation of said feature. The system design is more or less on the person who's going to have to use it. So those questions come into play when someone is using Talawa in production. This isn't so much so in scope of the GSOC type projects because we're not developing something for production. We're simply refining open source software.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any more questions? By the way, have you guys seen the email that I had email address that I had posted in the chat? That's the email you should send the submissions to. That I can guarantee that once you send them to that email address, all the mentors for the under the Palisados organization will see whatever draft you've sent, and we'll get back to you promptly. Yes, Vanshika.
So my question is that, so can you please explain the whole process of submission? How will it go like for submitting
So, so the
proposal?
process of submission on our end is that once you submit a draft for review, we'll give you some feedback and we'll tell you what to accord change accordingly. Once you've gotten enough feedback and you've like you can continuously send drafts. So you can send a draft. We'll respond to you with some feedback about what you should change or what you should add or what should be different, and you can make the changes and send us a newer draft and do that as many times as you like before the cutoff period for GSOC. So once you have a draft that you're like content with, you can then submit it on the GSOC portal as a prospective candidate for GSOC 2025.
So do we have to share the drafts on this email you just shared in the chat?
Yeah, you can share it on Slack or in the email, but I'm saying that sometimes the, the like the mentors may miss messages or anything like that in the Slack channel. So it's best your best bet to send it in both Slack and email because we get a lot of requests every single day. So it's very easy to overlook it. So it's if you send it via email, it will definitely see it for sure.
Yes, thank you so much for answering. I have one more question that for the whole Talava project, are we more focused on one single monorepo or multi-service based architecture for future as well? Like in future, are we more focused on monorepo part or the multi-service?
You said Talawa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Talawa is currently multi repo. So there's an admin repository, an API repository, and the front end repository. So it's basically three different projects in total, which you can choose to work on one.
Yes, actually, because for plugins, I think that to reduce the load on API, we can have one more repository known as plugins. So that would come under the multi-service architecture part. So yeah, is it suggestible or
Actually, okay, you raise an interesting point because plugins does intersect with two repositories. So yeah, it's true in that sense that it's there's three different um, components of Talawa, and plugins would intersect with say the front. Well, I mean, it's actually not just two. Plugins would intersect with all three components of the Talawa architecture. I would say that in that sense, the front end would be the least amount of work that the user would have to do. It's more interfacing with the API and admin panel. Well, it depends on the design that's being proposed, but yeah, it does touch all three. To be honest,
okay, I got it. Thank you.
if you can also just like look through the repository and then suggest any ideas about how you would kind of handle this type of thing. We can give you some feedback because we have more knowledge about the code base and what we want specifically. So we're open to your ideas and we can help refine them and to fit our needs.
Yes, I understand because previously I saw that API, the Talaba API repository was containing the plugins, but eventually they were removed due to some reasons. So I was like concerned about what would be the best option for this. I'll definitely reach out to you and Tasmeen ma'am for that.
Okay, Jay, you have a question?
Yeah, like in the plugin project, we'll be having a lot of plugins in like in separate repository. Obviously, we'll not ship it with the core code because they can extend to any amount in later in future. So like we can create a scrapers or something to make them available in plugin store, or like they have to manually download it, upload. Like all options are available. So what will be preferred by Talava?
We don't have a specific preference. The preference is dependent on the type of proposal that you discuss about how you would handles said architecture problem. So
Okay.
your proposal should talk about that, and then once you send us a draft, and we'll give you some revisions regarding what we.
Uh, all right, sir. Thank you.
One more thing, Jay, what you can do if there is one dummy plugin which you can use just to show us the your architectural approach, record it and like send it to us. We can, I mean, review on that as well.
All right, I'll try my best to do so.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Any further questions? Okay, there is one question for sending to the mentor at the red palaces org. So yeah, you can send it, basically send it here, draft submission. And then once your draft is finalized, then you have to upload your proposal on the GSOC website for the final submission. And from there, we get it and then we make our decision. So that's the final step. Yeah, go ahead, Manish.
So regarding the ongoing existence for course issue, I have proposed a solution that backend for front-end architecture that will simply proxy the front-end request to the API, Taleva API itself. But there was a problem that integrating the BFF server with Taleva admin. So I had exam that time at that time, so I was not able to propose that solution. But now I think we can just make a image of that PFF server in Docker and just use that in Docker compose.yaml in Talava admin so that it can be integrated properly with the Talava admin. Will it be acceptable?
Dominic, you want to take that?
Can you repeat?
Uh, on that ongoing course issue, I have proposed a solution that backend for front-end architecture. That will be simple Node.js server and that will proxy the request of Talava admin to Talava API. But there was a problem that problem of integrating that small BFF server to Talava admin itself. So at that time I had some exams, so I was not able to propose that solution. That's why it was ignored at that time. But now I think we can just make a Docker image of that small server and push. We can push that into a registry like Docker Hub, and we can use that image in the Docker Compose YAML file in the file of the Talava admin. So it can be work
So
finely
you
with that.
say I think a lot. So okay, so in your response a while ago, you said I think a lot. So what I'm suggesting is that you should maybe create like a small proof of concept to just see if this would possibly work. It doesn't have to be anything like a full blown feature or anything. It can be just some code that does what you said it should do, and that would be a very useful argument for what you're proposing. So you can contribute in different ways. You can create pull requests to contribute to features, but you can also show that what you're proposing is feasible based on what you do.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anyone having any other question? No question?
If you don't have any questions right now, but you think of something later, you can also send an email to the same mentors@palisados.org and try to reach us on Slack as well. So it's recommended to just try multiple ways to reach us rather than using Slack or just the email. But the email is more or less definitely going to somebody's definitely going to see that one. Yes, Jay.
So actually, in testing project, it is mentioned about integrating AI to enhance the speed of testing, generating files. So they have mentioned CodeRabbit. So our goal is to train CodeRabbit better, or to integrate some. It was a bit confusing.
I don't know. I think when we said CodeRabbit, we simply meant that CodeRabbit is a useful example of this. And CodeRabbit is used in the repositories, to be honest. Like when you make a pull request, CodeRabbit does analyze a lot of the code and provide helpful suggestions. An alternative could be to use something like Keploy, which is another Google Summer of Code project, which was also selected this year, which allows you to generate things such as unit tests just based on network information. So it's not necessarily strictly CodeRabbit only. It's more or less just the question is asking what are the useful testing frameworks for that would use that can use AI to generate test data instead of having the user generate test data themselves.
But if we integrate something else in our code base, it will not have as much knowledge as CodeRabbit already do.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily as much knowledge per se. So, for example, I had mentioned Keploy. Keploy wouldn't be integrated within the code base in and of
Yeah.
itself. Keploy simply analyzes the network data and generates unit tests for you. So it doesn't have to build upon the previous knowledge. It just has to come up with test cases that provide a lot of edge like that satisfy a lot of the edge cases that may slip through.
Right. But Keploy is mainly used to rerun the networks. So the memory used, it can replay the exact same thing. But related to unit test, it will be not live. It is the implementation on function, like a mock implementation. So Keploy can be used in memory profiling, but there were better alternatives which I've included than Keploy. So
Yeah, and that's
like
fine. You can suggest. I was just using Kepler as one example. There's many other use cases
all
out
right,
there. Yeah.
all right, sir. Yeah. Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, so there is one question in chat by Mandeep. A spam filtering feature is used in plugin project. Should I mention open source APIs or paid APIs are also fine if it's good for long run? So Mandeep, since we got one more question like that, so we don't prefer any paid services, any paid APIs. We prefer open source APIs. So let's stick to that for not only for plugin project, for every other project, let's stick to any open source from service or any free service that would be better.
In general, what Tasneem says applies to not just Talawa but Switchmap as well. So and on more broadly open source projects as well. We try to avoid enterprise or commercial solutions because it's not within the spirit of open source.
So any more question? I would encourage everyone if there is any question, not necessarily related to GSOC and project. If you have questions related to your resume, you can ask us. Overview on automotive contributions will be evaluated. Okay, I will go with Bandhan's question. There is one question in chat. Can you give an overview about how the contributions will be evaluated? So, are you asking for the GSOC final selection, Bandhan? Okay. So, there was one more question like that. So, as I mentioned, it depends on the quality of your proposal, the technical details, how much promising your implementation is, your contributions, and the quality of contributions to Palisa's Foundation or any other open source organization. And yeah, your how much actively you have been responding to mentors' review on your draft proposal. These factors come into picture, and we combine all this and then we make the final decision. I hope that answers Spandan. Okay. So Vanshika had raised her hand. Vanshika, you there?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, my question was related to the resume part you just told us. Can you elaborate that if a person has not contributed much to that um, contest and the other things like that in which there is some DSA needed, will their resume still be considered?
So it's not necessarily a contest per se. It's just so it's not about having as many of pull requests as possible. The quality of your pull requests matters more than the quantity of your pull requests. So you could have maybe just even one pull request, but if it's an extremely useful feature that we need, or something that shows us that you can actually complete the GSOC program, then that's fine. You don't need to have 5 or 10 or 20 pull requests, but you should at least try to contribute in a sustainable way. So if you have, say, 3 to 5 pull requests, that's good. And all the pull requests within that 3 to 5 range are meaningful contributions, not just like bug fixes or anything like that, but actual useful, very useful things that help the project move forward.
Thanks, Dominic, for adding that information. So Vanshika, I just want one clarity on your question. Are you asking resume in general or you're asking specifically for GSOC?
Actually, I'm asking in general.
Okay. So basically, it depends on which organization and which company you are applying for. So I have seen for the MNCs, if you count for Google, Amazon, Intuit, these companies, they highly look for your DSS skills, and for DSS skills, they look into your profile. If you have a profile on LeetCode, it's not necessarily that you have to be CP into CP, not that, but on LeetCode, if you have solved medium to easy to medium and couple of hard questions, that is also considered. Apart from that, whenever in your resume, uh, um, if you're, I mean, if you're right from your college, then in your skills, you can mention as many skills that as you have learned, like, but be very precise while mentioning skills. It has to be just one word. Let's say, React. So just mention React. Don't mention it like that, brief understanding or a very um, advanced in React, not like that, because your resume first go to a machine, ATS machine that filters out based on the keywords, and then it goes to a human, your HR. Okay, so this is important how you are mentioning your skill. Your profiles like lead code profile, your LinkedIn profile, these things are important. And if you are more on the development side, then you should be at least mentioning some project which you can show. I mean, show on GitHub. Like you can also deploy your projects, even if it's a simple project. Make sure you deploy your project, because usually when your interviewer is reviewing your resume, or when you get a chance to get to the interview there, if you're able to show your deployed project that creates a really good impact and that directs the whole discussion in that interview towards your project, not on other stuffs. Okay. Does that help?
Yes, ma'am. I have one more question that if any case a person doesn't get selected in GSOC, what should be the next step he or she should follow in order to continue to contribute in open source and gain something else from this?
So
So
there
that's
are, yeah, go ahead.
thank you, Testing. That's a really good question, uh, Vanshika. Last year we had some paid internships for some students who were really good, but didn't get selected because we had limited number of slots for GSOC. I'm not sure if we're going to do the same thing this year again, but we always welcome those who want to contribute more to our projects, and we try to support them in the best ways that we can. Uh, this doesn't necessarily always mean in like terms of money or financial means, but we do try to think of ways that align with what your professional goals are, and how best we can help achieve them through our open source projects.
Yes, thank you so much for answering. This really is motivating.
Yeah, thanks, Dominic. So on top of that, I would like to say like even after GSOC program, like it starts, like selections are made. And unfortunately, if you're not able to make it to the program, then also there are open issues in the organizations. See, preparing for GSOC is always a win-win opportunity for students because many students start with open source for the first time in the name of GSOC, and then they interact with multiple open source organization. And even if they are not able to make it to the program, there is still opportunity they can contribute to the open issues, right? Because the hard part is like getting started. So I hope if someone who is in second year of college or third year of college and as such just started with open source with this program, I I believe like person would be able to relate to my thing because I started same way and I had no plans to stick to open source for this long, but I'm still here and trying to I'm still here, I'm still learning from this organization especially. So yeah, it's always really, I mean, interesting and useful. Any further question from anyone else? Yeah, go ahead, Nishant.
Good evening, everyone. I'm currently writing a proposal on SwitchMap repository, and I have written the proposal. So I just wanted to know, like I have sent the mail to the mentors. So how will I get to know what are the problems in it and what I need to change? Do I even also need to contact on Slack channel, or is there any other way out?
You can, so your best bet to get in contact with a mentor and get your proposal through quickly is to both message them on Slack, but also send an email to mentors@palisados.org or submissions
Okay.
at
So I've
palisados.org.
already done it, but I haven't received any reply. So just wanted
When
to
did
ask
you
still.
send it?
Uh, like I have sent it to Ashima and also Dominic sir. I have sent it to you, but I haven't received any. Uh,
So we'll get to it's in the queue, so we'll review it. We're not going to necessarily get back to you
okay, sure.
in a
Okay,
few hours or in a day, but it's being reviewed. The thing is, we're
okay,
only a team of say maybe around 10 people, and we do have day jobs, so it's not some. If your proposal necessarily is like fairly lengthy and has some meat to it, then it may take a while to get back to you. It also may we also have to do research on our end, but we
okay,
can
okay,
guarantee that you'll definitely get a response
okay,
before
sure.
GSOC the submission period closes, far before then, and so you can continuously iterate and refine your proposal.
Okay, sure. And I just wanted to ask, like, till how much depth should I write in the proposal? Because I'm also working on the backend part of SwitchMap. the proposal. So how much depth should I put in my proposal so that it is good and it is understandable to the mentors?
Tasneem, would you like to answer?
Yeah, Dominic. So, Nishant, for any proposal, we really welcome the in-depth analysis of the problem statement. So, if you have, if you have further details of your implementation, do mention everything. But the, um, thing is like you have to be crisp with your proposal. uh, See, now this year, especially this year, the problem that we are facing is interested candidates, they are copy pasting implementation from ChatGPT. And it's very evident to all of us as a mentor that this is not being done by the mentee. This is somewhere generated. So it's very easy to identify such paragraphs. So and it's add a lot of work to us to go through the proposal and filter out the things that we want to see. So I would recommend you don't go more on the literally side. Focus on the technical details, and if you want to mention any in-depth analysis, do mention it. Okay?
Okay, ma'am, understood, ma'am.
Okay. Avoid paragraphs. Okay?
Okay, ma'am. I have one more doubt.
Yeah.
Like SwitchMap NG, for SwitchMap NG web, we have to make a design for the dashboard too. So I just wanted to ask whether we have to define the UI UX principles too in the proposal, or will it be fine to just add the Figma link? Anything like how should we go with the design part?
I think Figma link would be enough.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Understood.
And one more thing, if there is anything on backend and if it's going too deep, I would recommend either you come up with the architecture diagram that answers, everything about the problem statement, or record a demo video if you are not able to mention in the proposal in text. Demo video would be useful. Okay.
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Priyansh, go ahead.
Yeah, this again, my question is very specific to the plugin project. So I was told to make a demo thingy to show that my architecture works or not. So it's very small question. Do you want this demo to be in a standalone node application, or do you want this to be in a the Talava code base, just me contributing to it? Right now, I have chosen the Talava route, not the standalone node thing.
Yeah. So it's in Talava. And the thing is that don't focus much on the plugin details. It can be any dummy plugin. Okay, I just want to see the approach which you are mentioning if it's working fine or not. Okay.
Yes, it's just right now it's just a very basic plugin. I'm focused more on how to handle that plugin and how to start it and the things we mentioned in the things about lazy loading and all that. That's my more focus. Another question was the same question that Jaipuni has mentioned in chat, that you mentioned not using AI, which I've refrained, but it's also important to like make statements more clear, or grammatical mistakes should be less as possible. Is that okay if we just paraphrase it with AI and just write our own text, but we just paraphrase it? Is that okay, or do we really need to just write our own statements?
No, no, no. 1 second. I think you misunderstood my statement. What I'm saying, make use of AI. Even we are using AI to understand many things. But the thing is that don't copy paste the entire implementation which AI is suggesting, because sometimes it runs in the loop. It keeps on suggesting any vague implementation, and you just try modify your prompt. It will give the same implementation but in a different way, different language. So that's what we are trying to, convey, that don't copy paste entire thing from AI. Definitely use it to understand the problem statement, use it to ask for the implementation approach. But we want that interested candidate should be having understanding of the problem and the solution. That's what we look for in the proposal. And many proposal we saw, it's not like that. That's why we mention it. Okay. I hope
Got it.
now it's clear.
Yep. So just don't copy the architecture. Just use your. Okay, got it. Use your
Yeah.
research.
Yeah. No, and there is no harm in using it as a paraphraser. So you can use it, paraphrase it. That's not an issue. But have an understanding of the project.
There's no problem with using it to interrogate your ideas. So if you want to find something more about a specific topic, or just to get criticism about what you've written, or just fact check something, there's nothing wrong with using AI to do those things. As Tasneem mentioned, the problem is people doing the lazy thing, which is just to ask it for all the answers. It's you can use AI as a tool to help you, not something to just give you all the answers to something.
Got it. And just one last question. This was more focused on the timeline part. So let's from tomorrow, GSOC submissions are going to start. So I don't know. Are we allowed to still talk to you after the GSOC submissions till 8th April, or is it some blockage key after 24th April? There is no contact with mentors. You just submit your proposals.
You can still talk to us. There's nothing wrong with talking to us. It just depends on what you're asking. We
Got
can't
it. Got it.
necessarily give you information about the status of the application after that period. But if you want to ask any questions unrelated to that, then that's fine.
Perfect. And as well, if I let's say because I have because I have my exams and also have to make a good demo. So if I extend and try to just submit it at the last date, 8th April, would it affect something, or would it be okay if I do that?
All submissions get examined equally, regardless of when they were submitted, as long as they're submitted before the deadline.
Perfect. Thanks for answering. I'm done.
Yes, Vanshika, I believe you had raised your hand a while ago.
Yes, so I have a question that I made a chatbot which answers my question related to the Talaba docs. So should I mention that chatbot in my proposal as my work, as a part of my work in the repository? Because I have that demo video, so I'm just like, should I mention it or not?
Yeah, that's
Is it
fine. I mean,
meaningful?
to be honest, any work that you've done is worth mentioning. So how you present it also matters as well. So if you can maybe provide some kind of short video, or and some code snippets and stuff, that would, and with your explanations, that would be great.
Yes, actually, I was planning to have that code snippet part as well. So yeah, I will mention that. Thank you.
Nishant, you have a question?
Okay, so my question is related to switch map only. Okay, so in one of the GSOC ideas, it is written that we need to change the easy SNMP library that we are having. So I just wanted to ask, is it possible that we can use easy SNMP plus async IO together in the switch map repository, and we can asynchronously fetch data from the polar with the help of async IO? And along with that, we can make some threaded pool sort of thing, so that all the slow devices that take too much time to get their data polled by the poller, we can give these devices to easy SNMP, and synchronously the data can be fetched. Can we do this? Can we do this sort of strategy?
So the strategy you're describing, not specific to switch map only, but if you're asking, can we do this for anything? The answer is try it. Come up with, don't like spend a lot of time, like don't spend 3-4 days doing something like this. Spend maybe like a day or two to come up with a proof of concept. See if
Okay.
it works and it's feasible, and don't just throw away your work. So as Vanshika said, she made a chatbot. So anything that you do, use it in a way. So if it doesn't work in the, if you, the answer that you come up with in terms of asynchronous pooling and whatnot turns to be infeasible because of maybe some concurrency issues, or the details are really matter in terms of the implementation. So how it's implemented, and does it match the intended goals? So rather than asking if can we do this, you should just do it, and then say
Okay.
that, and make an argument as to why this would work based on what you've done as a proof of concept.
Okay. Understood. Thank you. Thank you for answering.
So one thing I want to add to Vanshika's question for the bot thing, Vanshika, I believe that is for the plugin project, correct?
Yes, ma'am, and I actually made it in a more generalized way before. So yeah, I was thinking to add it in the plugins as well, if possible.
Okay. So, Vanshika, I would recommend you like I did go through that demo of yours. But one thing for plugin project, the main focus is on the architecture. So definitely mention the demo, but like try to integrate it with the architecture. Like how if I want to use that plugin in my, let's say in Talava, how can I use that? So if you can prepare a demo, I mean, do some slide change and prepare a demo for that, that would be really great.
Yes, ma'am, I understand. That brings me to one more question that do we want to have some machine learning stuff or something simpler like AI agents when we talk about AI plugins?
AI agents would be better,
Yes,
okay?
yes, actually.
Because coming to model, we need to deploy it, and then that is I mean that tray. And one more thing, coming to any if machine learning models for training, we need data. And currently, if it's a very specific task it is doing, we don't have data like that. Okay, Talava is made for the Talava users. We don't have that much data right now to train any model. So I would recommend you to go with the agents.
So, ma'am, we will also have the keys for that. Will that be okay to
Come
have
again?
some? Actually, for AI agents, we will have to generate API keys. They will be free of cost, but yeah, we will have to generate one specific key for that. So, will that be okay?
Yeah, if it's free of cost, then that is fine, but don't go for any paid service.
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay. So one more thing, Vanshika. In most of these services, tokens are very limited. You can do it to some number of tokens. Post that you have to buy the subscription. So if your, solution is based on that, then it won't be a feasible solution for us.
Yes, ma'am, I understand. I actually have a way to like go through that part as well. So yeah, I'll mention that in my proposal. Right now, I mentioned some NLP modules and all, but I'll just update it.
Okay. I would recommend you, if you are very interested on that part, I would recommend you to explore Hugging Face models. And there is a way they provide for the deployment. So that would be really useful and it is free of cost. So would be feasible for open source.
Yes, ma'am, I'll go through that part. Thank you.
Okay. And one more thing, I have one branch question on the that late submission. So branch, I just want to suggest you like do that. We don't. We review all the proposals equally, but just if there is a scope that you will get a revert back from your mentor on your changes. So just do it. In a time period so that I can revert back and you can revert back to me with the changes. I hope that is, clear to you, right?
Yep, got it.
Okay, okay, thanks. Any further question?
So if there's
I,
no further questions, we can end this meeting.
yeah,
If you have any questions that come to you after, feel free to send us an email at the email addresses that are posted in the chat.
yeah, thanks, Dominic. Yeah, we can wrap up the session now. Just one thing I want to tell everyone is do contribute as much as you can. This is a very golden opportunity for the open source, especially the one who is starting with the open source. But in unfortunately, if someone is not able to make it to GSOC, don't get disheartened. There's always a scope. There are so many other programs, open source programs, and any open source contribution, even if it's not linked to any open source program, open source contributions are always counted and it always gives you a new learning. So be consistent with your contribution, even after GSOC. It's more about open source. I hope everybody gets that enthusiasm to keep on doing that. Okay. All right. We can wrap up this session. Thanks everybody for joining. Thank you, Dominic, for answering the queries.
Thank you, Tasneem. Thank you, everyone else, for joining.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye bye. Good night.